Hi, this is Kevin Brown with your 2-Minute Tuesday. Selective Science. I read an article here in World Magazine earlier this month by Jamie Dean. It came out after the Paris Accord and the United States getting out of some of this climate change stuff, and of course all kinds of protests, and the world's going to collapse and all of that. And so it's interesting that the Trump administration, Scott Pruitt, who's the head of the EPA, he's begun to roll back many of the Obama administration EPA regulations, and so everybody's just going crazy about all this. And you know, I've read quite a bit on this about the science behind climate change. Science, okay, things that's observable and repeatable and so forth. This is Cal Beisner of the Cornwall Alliance. It's a network of Christian scholars and scientists, and I'm just reading here. He points out that the cost versus the benefits of staying in the Paris Accord is quite interesting. That it's been at least recorded by their group that we as a world, and talking about the world now, just not the United States, would spend $1 trillion a year between 2030 and 2010, okay? The United States would bear the highest financial burden. And he goes on to say that the most optimistic outcome for spending tens of trillions of dollars is, get that, 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit change. That's it. For spending trillions of dollars. He said it's no bargain. He said it won't slow sea level rise, it won't reduce hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, or heat waves. It won't save human lives. And then he asked, what about spending that money in providing electricity, pure drinking water, infectious disease control, sewage, sanitation, industrialization, and lots of these other things that might lift people out of poverty, disease, and premature death? Well, if you start questioning the science behind climate change, you're a heretic in the scientific community. It's like this man. This is Bret Stephens, and he wrote, he's a conservative gentleman, and he wrote for the New York Times of all things, and he noted that there had been a 1.5 degree Fahrenheit warming of the earth since 1880. He says it's indisputable. But then he goes on to say in his second paragraph here, but Stephens added that models predicting the future effects of climate change are a matter of probabilities. See it? Not irrefutable science. To say this isn't to deny science, he wrote, it's to acknowledge its honesty. But do you know that there were calls for Bret Stephens to be fired as a contributor for the New York Times because he had the gall to come against science? You know, it's amazing. We live in such a fluid society now that I was continuing to read about science in all kinds of different areas. You know, the science now about this gender fluidity. You can't question even that today. Even though the American Academy of Pediatrics, see here, recently published an excerpt of a study about the cognitive development of children. It says that the report argued children under 14 aren't cognitively capable of crossing a busy street because of a lack of judgment. And yet we're going to let 14-year-olds and younger decide what their sex is? See, this is so dangerous. And this is why we've got to be very careful about, as Jamie Dean says, selective science. See, science is constantly changing. Science, even from what people believed 100 years ago, has changed. So please read and study. Don't just believe everything that someone says. Don't even believe everything that I say. But I'm trying to come and share with you with integrity. Please look with critical eyes about that which is called science in our day and age today. This has been Kevin Brown with your 2-Minute Tuesday.